Childe Harold Wills was, for many years, one of Ford's top men. I mean, he's the guy that's responsible for the iconic Ford blue oval emblem and introduced Henry Ford to vanadium steel. Wills would leave Ford in 1919 and cashed in his Ford stock to pursue a car of his very own. Located on the Sainte Claire River in Marysville, Michigan, his car would be powered by sophisticated overhead valve, overhead cam engines. His car, the Wills Sainte Claire. But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that digs featuring cars you have never heard of. History, specs, design. Also, it's amazing the impact cars and music have on the mind. If it brings back any lost and forgotten memories, be sure to share them with us in the comment section. We post between 4 and 5 episodes each week, with engine episodes generally on Wednesdays. If that sounds of interest, a channel that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. Wait a second, you hear that? Spring is finally here. If you're in the Western Pennsylvania, Ohio, Southern Western New York State, Panhandle, West Virginia, Eastern Indiana, Southern Michigan, and have a cool, lost, and mostly forgotten car in your collection that you would like to see featured on this channel in mini documentary format, drop me a line at what_it's_like at a lostandforgottenwebprovider.com if interested. Also, if you're in the automotive sector and would love to collaborate, and I don't care how big your base is or your channel, excuse my language, but some people won't work with others. It turns into a giant dick measuring contest. I'm not like that, and it's very shallow in a lot of ways, and that's all I'm going to say about it. You could miss the opportunity with working with the best people. I mean, we all start somewhere. So if you're interested, drop me a line. 1926, Wills Sainte Claire model lineup. But before getting into all of that, Childe Harold Wills, or C.H. Wills for short, was born June 1st, 1878 in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and was the youngest child of John C. and Angela S. Wills. Childe was named after the poem Childe Harold's Pilgrimage by Lord Byron. Wills absolutely hated the name, which is totally understandable. I mean, who would want to be called Childe? It's sort of like a boy named Sue. Wills would either go by Harold, which was his middle name, or C.H. Wills. In 1885, the Wills family would move to Detroit, Michigan. When C.H. Wills was 17, he began a 4-year apprenticeship as a toolmaker for Detroit Lubrication, which was where his father worked. C.H. Wills also took night classes and please don't crucify me in the comment section, I am not the best at pronunciations, metallurgy, chemistry, and mechanical engineering. At the age of 23, Wills would become chief engineer at Bros Adding and Machine Company. But that wasn't the only job that he had. At that point in time, in 1899, he was offered a part-time job working for the one and only Henry Ford. Wills would work for Ford full-time by 1902. By 1903, C.H. Wills was chief designer and metallurgist at Ford. Ford offered Wills 10% of Ford's own dividend of stock in the company. C.H. Wills, like a lot of people in automotive history, doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Wills is the guy that introduced Henry Ford to vanadium steel, which was a strong, lightweight material. Wills also designed the Model T planetary transmission as well as the iconic Ford blue oval logo. Wills was Henry Ford's right-hand man for a time. Wills married Mabel Preston in 1904. Henry Ford was his best man. But as time went on, the relationship soured. Ford started buying up minority shareholders. Wills got a $1.5 million severance package. $1.5 million in 1919 would be equivalent to over $27 million in 2024. With a shitload of capital, C.H. Wills set off to make the best car on sale during this period in time. C.H. Wills would build his car company on the Sainte Claire River, Marysville, Michigan, and named the car Wills after himself, Sainte Claire, for the river. Wills Sainte Claire would be built from 1921 through 1926. Vanadium steel wasn't good enough anymore, so Wills cars were made out of a stronger steel. Fun fact, Will St. Clair is the first car to offer backup lights. From 1921 through 1923, Will St. Clair was powered by an overhead valve, overhead cam V8. The engine was sophisticated, really tough to work on. The heads did not come off, and the only way to do a valve job was through the bottom. C.H. Wills was a perfectionist and would often shut down the production line to make small changes to the cars, which would result in delays. Worse yet, Wills lost most of his executive staff from his antics. The company was placed in receivership in 1922, but it was given a second chance by a group of bankers from Boston. Because the V8 was costly to produce and hard to work on, they would make an all-new power plant to power the new cars. Still overhead valve, still overhead cam design, but offered in an inline-six configuration. The cars were expensive still. Wills lost money on every single one built. The company would close its doors for good in 1927 after selling no more than 14,000 cars. The property was bought by Chrysler in 1935. Let's talk specs. 192 inches long, 70 inches tall, 67 inches wide. It rides a wheelbase of 127 inches. It weighs around 3,500 pounds. Price, $3,000, which is equivalent to you spending $52,937.63 in the year 2024. Total cars from Will St. Clair was no more than 14,000. Sources, they conflict. Some sources say 12,000, some sources say 13,000. No more than 14,000. Total 1926 Will St. Clair production was 2,085 units. Of all of the cars built, there's only 85 known to exist. Moving on to engine, only one engine on offer, 273 cubic inch displacement, overhead valve, overhead cam, inline 6, 4.5 liters. It's good for 66 horsepower, 3,000 RPM. This is an estimate, 120 pound-feet or 162 newton meters, around 1,800 RPM, with a bore of 3.25 inches in a stroke of 5.5 inches. This engine features a 7 main bearing crankshaft, balanced crankshaft, full pressurized oiling lubrication system to the main bearings, 3-speed manual transmission, theoretical top speed of 75 miles per hour. It also featured lock-keyed hydraulic brakes on all 4 corners. Huge thank you to the CCCA, or Classic Car Club of America campus at the Gilmore Auto Museum, for having us feature this lost and forgotten gem. The CCCA campus at the Gilmore Auto Museum has some truly epic cars, the ones that you only read about. The Will St. Clair will greet you at the door when you walk in. Just to the right, they have a stellar collection of mascots as well as it upstairs. So don't forget to go upstairs because there's cars up there as well. For hours and directions to the Gilmore Auto Museum, as well as admission pricing, be sure to click the link below after the show. I also want to mention the Will St. Clair Museum in Marysville, Michigan. I've never been there, but they have more Will St. Clairs than anybody else on the planet, with 10 on exhibit. So if you're interested, both of those will be linked in the description for you to check out. Let's talk styling. Starting with the bumpers. Don't the bumpers look very Lincoln-esque to you? There's a Lincoln back here. I'll show you what I mean. This is a 1929 Lincoln. Look at the bumpers. Very similar bumper profile. The logo inside the bumpers on both sides. And just take a look at how the bumpers attach. This looks like it has a thermostatically controlled grille, but it's different than most other grills. Usually the vanes open and close like this. Vertical, I should say, and these are horizontal. Headlights, which are attached to the bar,
that goes in between the two fenders to help out with structural rigidity, more or less so they don't flap going down the road. Beautiful spoke wheels. Pinstriping up here. This has a cowl vent, which is pretty big.
Also notice the cowl isn't one shape. It's actually curved with a crease going through it.
Notice the windshield is a single piece windshield, not split. The windshield wiper at the top has spotlights on both sides with wing windows. Also take a look at how this pinstriping comes in. The back bumpers mimic the front bumpers. It just has this added curve for the spare tire. Brake lights, two brake lights, but they're on the same side. Golf bag door. This one has a rumble seat. You step here, here, and the rumble seat is right there. The fenders have an ever so slight crease in the center.
Taking a real quick gander at this engine, overhead valve, overhead cam in the 20s, mind you. This engine is very tall in appearance. Also notice how the spark plugs and where they're located. They come out of the block horizontal. The wires are in the tube to keep it nice and tidy, but just notice how the exhaust runs on top of it. It's a very interesting setup, design I should say. The distributor is mounted to the passenger side in the front. Intake is on the driver's side, updraft carburetor. Also notice how the intake is designed. It doesn't run the whole length of the engine like most engines do. Just a very interesting design. Also notice the starter is on the driver's side. On to the button switches and knobs, starting at the steering wheel. On the left-hand side, open. In the center, horn. On the right-hand side is for the headlights. Bright is at the top. Dim is at the bottom. Ignition, key, speedometer. Notice the needle. It stays stationary while the numbers spin. Odometer, tripometer, clock, amp meter, oil pressure, lighter, gasoline gauge. On the positive side, these cars are rare and they are different kind of car. Overhead valve, overhead cam in the 20s was definitely a novelty. Really cool history that's being lost to time, unfortunately. These cars were fast back in the day, 75 miles per hour theoretical top speed. They won tons of races going from coast to coast. Against it, parts have to be made, both engine parts and body parts, mechanically complex. They're not as hard to work on as, say, the earlier V8s. Styling is a bit Remember, this cost about the same as a Packard or a Pierce Arrow. Speaking of cars that cost about the same, which one would you rather have? 1926 Packard Standard 8 or 1926 Wills Sainte Claire or 1926 Peerless V8. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario, 1926 Cadillac or 1926 Wills Sainte Claire or 1926 Stern Knight with the sleeve valve engine. Once again, going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this. Whether I see you in the comment section, on our Facebook group, or if you send me an email, just know that I appreciate everything that you bring. Until next time, toodaloo! By 1903, he was chief designer. By 1903, Wills was chief designer and metallurgist. Metallurgist. God, this is going to be hard. Metallurgist. Metallurgist, evidently, at Ford. Ford would give Wills a 1.5 severance package. Wills got a 1.5 million severance package. $1.5 million in 1919 would be equivalent to you having $27,080,809.25 in year 2024. Wills was a very underappreciated dude in the automotive industry. I mean, Henry Ford took credit for just about everything this guy did. Vanadium steel, it's because of this guy. Wills is also responsible for designing the planetary transmission, as well as the iconic Ford blue oval logo. I'm Jay, welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that digs cars that no longer are around. Cars that were machines. They were made to break and be fixed, not like the appliance cars that break nowadays, and it's more affordable to just buy a new car than buy a new engine or transmission. Cars before plastic.